Yeah, so we back, and next we're gonna get into the identity of our people, and then we're gonna get into how we got to be in the position that we're in. So, who would like to go first as
Go
far as
first.
that?
Said identity.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the identity, man. Our identity is the lost sheep of Israel, right? And I think the narrative from the Bible, which is the Jews or the Israelites, the people of the book, which in today's world are considered the white Jewish people in Israel or whatever you call that place now. I don't know what they done did to it. But we fit the description of the people as far as the curses and what happened to them. Like even just saying, it's a scripture from Jeremiah. It says, "And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I have gave thee." Like I'm not saying a person like himself or somebody else won't give me a background, but it's like we don't know who we are. We
Right.
black, we Negro, we African American, we Indian, we so many things.
Right.
But when you go to other nations, they're not so many things. They're Chinese, and we know that. And they can go all the way back to history. You know what I'm saying? They're a certain kind of African, like Nigerian. He know that. He can go all the way back to history, his gods and this and that. We know it's almost like we're like a builder person.
Right.
Like we got so many different things, like this religion, that religion, this culture. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like that. So that's why I feel like we are these people, because these people are lost. It even has some of the curses where in Deuteronomy 20 and 15 it say, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee." And he lists a bunch of curses. And just looking and reading some of the curses, it sounds like us.
Okay.
Like I don't feel like it. And not saying it can't, but it's so many curses. Like I feel like these are it got to be us, because when I was younger, even before I came into the Bible, just like him, I was doing my research because my email is Prince of Egypt. So I was with the Egypt thing and all that, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it may be. But it was like, bruh, like it's something inside of me, like, bruh, something's not right. Like somebody lying to us, something not right, because it's like, dog, like why are we slaves?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Why no other nations? So many things were just coming wrong. So I was like, yeah. So then when I came across the Bible and was seeing all these things, and like just the way Deshaun Jackson puts up a quote about being the real Jews, they killing this man.
Right.
Almost murdered this man. Same thing with Nick Cannon. He said the same thing. But if we was to say Black Panther or Africa, they don't really care. So
Right.
obviously it gotta mean something to at least these people. It means something to the Jewish people, the people that run the world. Something means something. So like little insights like that further confirms what I believe. Is like, okay, we must be the people. So I believe that's our identity of people, and we're lost, and we gotta find our way back home, because we have no home, we have no heritage, no food, no language. I don't even know what my language is, bro. Like we just lost. I just know I'm a Negro from Forestville. That's all I know. So I feel like I said we just a lost people. That's our identity. The lost sheep of Israel.
Okay.
So, my perspective on that whole situation is just that we the lost people from everywhere.
Right.
Like we colonized the whole world. All of the land mass of the world. You know what I'm saying? Prior to a place called Israel, prior to a place called Egypt, prior to a place called Africa. You know what I'm saying? Where in different groups just had different languages, different cultures, different spiritual systems, even though the spiritual system may lead back to the same level of truth, because we still talk about life at the end of the day.
Right.
But in terms of like as we see ourselves as Americans now, we a melting pot. You know what I'm saying? We were taken from different locations at different points in history, and we moved from different places and different points in history. So even outside of the slavery concept, we always moved around. You know what I'm saying? You had Africans that would be in what we call Africa, quote unquote, and literally move to somewhere, just take 200 ships worth of people, and we'll just go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Mix with the indigenous, and then it'll just be, like I said, more of a melting pot. We always interacted with each other because we more or less the same people. As it relates to, it bothers me sometimes. Doing my research on like the similarities between what the Bible says is going to happen and what actually happened, because it's simple fact of, if you're in a position of power and you are leading the world in a given direction, you then have the impetus to write about it. So you know what I'm saying? If I know. If say small example real quick.
Okay.
Say we about to play a basketball game and I know you got Jordan on your team, right? Most people gonna think that y'all probably gonna win,
About to cook them niggas.
right? But at the same time, if I know somebody on my team done, you know what I'm saying, poison Jordan 3 minutes before the game, he not gonna have no, you know what I'm saying, he not gonna have no faculties.
Right.
We know we can, you know what I'm saying, speak on what we might be able to do considering the fact that you may believe that you got a certain thing. So if I know, if I'm on, like he said, in terms of like the Jewish versus the Jew thing and that type of thing, if we have a situation where we're trying to have people believe that we are a certain individual, whenever you speak on that, we're gonna have something to say. But outside of that, we wouldn't mention it, because if we did put as much, you know, behind that, people would know that there's something behind that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So personally, I don't feel like, you know, I have a viewpoint about Egypt where it's just like people speak of Egypt as if like that was the pinnacle, when there's like evidence that, you know, that Egypt even grew from Ethiopia, so Ethiopia was a little better than different parts. So, you know, you had the richest people in the world in Ghana at one point, which is on a whole other side. You know what I'm saying? Like our historical awareness is just it's not all the way full yet. You know what I'm saying? It's not complete, because most people just know Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Most people just hear Egypt as like, you know, the pinnacle of whatever it is, not even understanding that the landmass of America had their own cultures and they got to a certain pinnacle. Certain places in South America, they had their own pinnacle. Even Australia, they had their own pinnacle. And at each location, you had, you know, what they classify themselves as white people, you know, and Arab people at the time, which is a whole nother concept. But you had people at the time who came in and literally sabotaged under different flags, under different cultures, under different languages and that type of thing. They came in and sabotaged in different ways. So then when we look at the black people of the world today, it's like we were, like I said earlier, we were kind of made to be this way. If you got a people who prioritizes knowledge and awareness,
Okay.
but then you simultaneously have a point in history where I'll kill you for reading a book. You create a situation where you have ignorant people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like later on down the line, because of course
Yeah,
that generation is going to have a level
Yeah.
of knowledge they're going to teach. But then as you move farther away from that, you get levels of ignorance that, you know, hadn't been seen before. But that was created. That's not I don't want to say some God-given curse. That's, I'm telling you I'm going to kill you, and I'm following that up with action. So, you know, my definition of God is a little different in terms of just energy and consciousness.
Yeah, well, that's
so,
yeah, that varies. That varies.
you know, so as it relates to people have access to that energy and consciousness. So when it comes to who has the power to inflict their will upon another person, you could then say that was God's plan. That's my whole thing. Like, I just don't, I can't see it as somebody with no individual with no power writing about what's going to happen in the future. Like, that sounds backwards. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, to a certain degree, but
It sounds backwards.
you got anything to add to that before we
The identity.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, it's to me it's scriptural, and I get what he's saying. So it's almost like if I'm making the world a certain way, like you say, if I got some information, I'm like I can write the book.
I mean, long story short, if you know that you're sabotaging what's going on,
You can write about it.
You can write about it.
Yes.
You have a structure in place that, okay, if I do this, then 50 years from now, this should be happening.
This is going to be happening.
Yeah.
And they have like think tanks where they have projections 200 years in the future.
Right.
With numbers, with signs, with if we release this, then, you know, like the Tuskegee experiments where they just did it randomly, quote unquote. Like, you take that data and then you can say, okay, if we do it this way, then chances are this can happen. And, you know, And then once you get those projections, you can actually create institutions to make those projections actually be a thing. So if you want to have concentrated wealth somewhere, then you put the resources somewhere. Then you do the gentrification in a certain space. It's not a coincidence that a lot of the wealth is around the coastline. That's not a coincidence. Around water, you have to have water to have a civilization. That's not a coincidence. That's a plan. Having understood what human life is. So, if you look at, if we would just take the United States for example, look at where all of the wealth is. It's around the beaches. It's around the water. It's around the harbors. That's not random. You know what I mean? That's planning. That's strategic. That's tactical. War shit. You know what I'm saying? War mindset.
Okay. So we're gonna take another brief break right quick, and then we're gonna
Mario.
I don't know what it's gonna be, but yeah, we'll be right back.